The Himalayan International Institute of Yoga Science and Philosophy has a nice little campus there of 422 acres in the Pocono Mountains of northeast Pennsylvania. Um, so it's natural that it has a series of books to go with that. The Wisdom of the Ancient Sages, Mundaka Upanishad, translated and commented upon by Swami Rama, is, the subject of this book. What makes it unique, I would say, has to do with the comment. The comment is most of the book. Like a lot of such books, very conservative. It isn't as reference-oriented as the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. But it's worth the read nonetheless. I won't say that I agree with everything in the commentary, but there's some interesting points that get at the depth of the number and types of physical and psychic channels that a yogi can work with. I would say that the 7 colors in the fire thing could imply the black, right? Because there is a black hot fire. And just like white is reflecting all the colors, black is absorbing all the colors. So, and the 7 out of the 7 is the mixture of the rest of the ones we see, right? One interesting story herein is talking with somebody that was considered by them to be a Muslim. They weren't, because they abandoned their prayers. They abandoned their prayers because they remembered part of a verse and they remembered where it was and they kind of ignored what was around it. And there are people like that, and that go against a religious teaching and blame the religious teaching because they remember a phrase out of it. So there were a lot of sit-down teachings, or Upanishads, as you could say. Now, a couple ones that are thought to be fraudulent and new and stuff, well, they aren't that much newer or anything than some of the others, and some of these features of it actually go back before, some of the Vedic manuscripts that refer to the 4 Vedas, But I would agree that not every teaching that has been labeled such is really of a more than conservative level of religious authority. It's important to work on and find your own balance and to trace out causes. Sometimes the most important ritual is not the outer ritual, it's the inner ritual. And to a huge extent, I would say most religions would agree with that there's, but the idea that you can just get so good with the inner side of it that you can abandon the outer side of it, I don't think most would agree with anything like that. A person works on and purifies their reactions. When we talk about the mantras, the mantras to use and all that, what we are getting into is an idea of not jarring ourselves. Now, there is the approach of causing the shock towards the change, but then you get to the point where it comes smoothly, automatically. And one of the ways that a person can judge scholarly and other types of religious literature is how it resonates. It's important to realize that we are not here forever. That as above, so below. So there's references to the external inside of us, right? Some of it's physical, some of it's psychiatric. Our commentary should be something that we're careful of. It should be something that just isn't merely by our whims or something. It should be, based on not only the scripture itself that we're commenting upon, the revelation and inspiration that we know of, but the sciences. Religion is not separate from science. I mean, actual religion. Some claims may deviate here and there, but as we go on, we learn to experience with, the physical, the emotional energy, the intellectual, the blissful. I said the energy is the second, and the emotional, psychological as the third, and the intellectual, which really sounds like that, is the fourth. But the blissful is like the soul body, as people call it, right? There's the mode of darkness, the mode of goodness, and the mode of light. Well, not light. That's not the right word, but truth, just like there's the path of fruitiveness, there's the path of mental development, there's the path of devotion. Some will achieve through seeing, the mantra or the scripture itself. For some, it's a particular ritual. Scriptures are said to be divided into knowledge itself, and the other is, actions, the ritual forms is the main way people think of that. But there are rules and stuff for life that aren't just rituals, too. The Mundaka Upanishad is important because it illustrates that there's a goal. It starts by talking about origins, mind, signs. There is something particular about apostolic transmission. There's the revealed literature itself, you could say. One thing at the base of it is that a person has, it teaches them outer liberation, and it gets them to the point where they'll have a good afterlife. Part of this origin story is the Creator with attributes and without attributes. Now, without attributes is just, basically without focus on particular causal things. Oh, you like this name of God versus that name of God, that sort of stuff. And let's face it, we know of the divine qualities in the limited ways of creation. But beyond that is, a transcendent that we're connecting to. We obtain to a greater state than just piling up heavenly rewards. I mean, that's an odd way to put it, but we reach towards this submission, this surrender to the Creator by through the realization of ourselves, not as some circular diagram that you have all these little landmarks, but getting beyond that to the blank sheet, the Atman, as you could say. Because while there's the individual and the universal aspects of the self, we need to, operate the individual, but identify more as a vehicle of this presence of the divine that is, beyond, right? We're supposed to acquire strength, not be weak. There's benefit to doing what we're told through these means. There's benefit to memorizing the scriptures and figuring out ritual uses and such like that. But it goes beyond the formulas. It goes beyond being a formula. There's a relationship, as you could say. Those 3 stages. You got the stories and, the gratefulness and that sort of stuff. And then you have the rules and the skills. And then you have, that final stage here. May we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell only what is auspicious. May our consciousness develop. May we have the span and experience of life that is best for us. May we operate as reminders of divinity. Om, peace. Peace, peace, Shan.